Hi, my name is Khanjan Mehta, and I'm at Lehigh University, where I serve as the Vice Provost for Creative Inquiry and Director of the Mount Up Initiative. So, in this talk, we're going to talk about customer profiles and value propositions. So, this week you have studied stakeholder mapping, and you're also going to be studying business model canvas and the difference between the business model canvas and business plans. So, in some ways, you can think about my talk and some of the worksheets that go along with it as this kind of in between. You've identified your stakeholders, you know who they are. Now you're trying to take a deeper dive into your customers, understand who your customers are, identify and understand their attributes, their deeply held needs and beliefs. And if you do that, then you can develop value propositions for different kinds of products and services that are more likely to be successful when you convert your product into a successful venture, right? So we're going to talk about customers and consumers. We're going to talk about different kinds of products. We're going to talk about different kinds of value propositions. And finally, I'm going to leave you with some practical examples of business model innovations that have emerged because those companies, those entrepreneurs took the pains of really understanding who their customers were and what they wanted, right? So first things first, what is the difference between customers and consumers? So customers are the people who are going to buy your product. Consumers are the people who are going to use the product. Sometimes they're one and the same. So for example, I might buy these super nutritious muffins for myself. So I'm the customer, and if I eat them, I'm also the consumer, okay? But there are other products, for example, eco-friendly diapers, right? In which case I'm buying this product for my child. I am the customer, but I'm not the consumer. My child, my baby is the consumer. In this case, this product needs to be designed to meet some of my needs, maybe in terms of the cost, in terms of how environmentally or eco-friendly it is, maybe in terms of safety in its supply chains, and it also needs to meet some needs that my baby has for the product to be successful in the marketplace. So customers purchase your product, consumers consume your product. Sometimes they're one and the same, but they don't have to be. They're often different. And this is particularly relevant, for example, in the healthcare industry, where you have to meet the needs for patients, you have to meet the needs of doctors and nurses, the hospital system, the insurance industry, and so on. Green entrepreneurship, thankfully, we don't have that problem of having too many stakeholders whose needs have to be addressed. But no matter what, you have to think about the needs of the customers and the consumers and know who they are and know what some of their attributes are. So what kind of attributes are we talking about here? So your customers' attributes include things like their demographics, their age. Are you designing a product for young people, middle-aged people, older people, the size of their families, their education levels, their nationalities, or what part of the country they come from, and what is specific about that part of the world, their ethnicity, their occupation, designing a product for office goers versus farmers, their race, their religion, where they live, their gender, their sexual orientation, their gender identity. Its socioeconomic attributes like their income and social class. So are you designing a product for an audience, for a customer base that is extremely price sensitive? Or are they actually looking at your product as an aspirational product and something they're willing to spend more money to purchase or to avail of? So the income and social class. The geography in terms of the region of the country, the size of the city they live in, the density of the marketplace, the climate. Are they rural customers, urban customers? Oftentimes very different mindsets, very different access issues that they have to get access to your product. Psychological variables. And I think over time, these have become even more important than the demographics. So people's attitudes and interests. So when we talk about green entrepreneurship, I think psychographics are extremely important. Like people choose to purchase a greener product or a more eco-friendly product because they believe that they want to have this green lifestyle, right? So that psychological variable is important. Psychological variables are important in terms of their attitudes, their interests, their opinions, their lifestyles, their core values, their personality traits, referencing? How do they learn about new products, and whom do they believe? So if I'm referencing myself to my friends who are all kind of eco-friendly, then I'm going to do something that will make me feel more like a part of this group, right? So how are people referencing themselves? And behavioral attributes such as the kind of benefit they're seeking, how they'll be using the product, their price sensitivity, their loyalty to your brand, and so on. So you want to identify what these attributes are for your customer segments, and then you want to design your product and your business model keeping in mind these specific attributes. So let's go in a slightly different direction, look at different kinds of products where this difference between customers and consumers and their attributes will become clearer. Right. So I like to think of like products in different categories. So you have certain products that are fast moving consumer goods. So you can see, in this picture here, you have like a sachet of shampoo, or the picture on the top right is a small kiosk, or in Philippines you call them sari-sari stores, or there are lots of corner stores in India that sell all kinds of fast moving consumer goods, right? Quick snacks and coffee and little sachets of vodka, or toothpaste, and so on. So these are typically things where you would go purchase it, you would use it. The customer and consumer is one and the same. Or flour, so a lot of food products. Or what you're seeing in the bottom left corner is a briquette. That's a green entrepreneurial product. You take let's say bagasse out of the sugarcane industry, and you compact them into briquettes, and that's a better way that's a better form of fuel for your improved cook stove. That's a fast-moving consumer good. Then you have durable or long-term products like a tractor, or a little van that doubles up as a little coffee shop or a little restaurant. Lots of these in low and middle income countries where a billion people depend on street food, or they consume street food on at least a weekly basis. And so you have a lot of businesses that are of this nature. And so you have companies that manufacture these vans for this industry, or agricultural implements, or here's a solar food dryer that is used to dry hibiscus leaves to make a tea product. And these are all durable long-term products, which is not something that somebody's going to wake up one day and just go to a small shop and buy it, right? They're going to put some more thought into it. They might have to save up money, or they might have to partner up with others to purchase this product. And finally, you have infrastructure, like schools, or what you're seeing in the bottom left corner is a biodigester facility that is co-located with a slaughterhouse. So you take the slaughterhouse waste and you convert that into biomass, into methane that is converted into electricity, and that is used to charge phones and provide a little bit of electricity to a bunch of homes in the neighborhood. So that's an infrastructure project that requires a significantly larger capital investment. Or what you're seeing in the bottom right corner here is a gasifier used by husk power systems, where they take rice husk and convert that into electricity to power a bunch of homes. Much larger investment that is needed for this product, right? In this case, you have to answer two sets of questions. The first question is, who is going to make this, let's say, gasifier, or design this facility, and who, why, where will make, sell, and maintain this biodigester facility, right? And that organization needs a business model. But then this is not the kind of thing that an individual is going to purchase. A community, a group of entrepreneurs, or a solo entrepreneur with external funding is going to purchase this product, and they're going to use it to make money themselves. So then the question is, how will they pay for the system, and how will they sustain the system? And they will likely have their own consumers that might come and get their batteries charged and pay some money. Or they might come and they might purchase power for a certain amount of time. So you have a more complex business model in this case, because the infrastructure or the durable good is not something that somebody can buy outright, right? So you have to think about those two different kinds of business models: for the producer and for the entrepreneurial community that's going to use that product to create value for their own customers. And that's exactly where the business model canvas comes in, right? That is what you'll be learning from Chris Kausman in the other session, in the other module, and that will help you figure out what is that business model for the organization that manufactures and sells these carts or these solar food dryers or whatever else. So let's talk a little bit about value propositions. Depending on what the nature of your product is, whether it's a fast-moving consumer good, depending on whether it's a durable good, you will have different kinds of value propositions. But what is a value proposition? So your value proposition is a series of statements that tries to answer this question of what value do we deliver to our customers, okay? Which one of our customers' problems are we helping to solve? And so you will have a different value proposition for each of your customers. What specific needs of the customer are being addressed? So it's not about how you will deliver value. It's not about your product. It's not about what people are willing to pay for your product. It's really about what value are you trying to create for your product, right? So let's go through a bunch of examples of the kinds of value propositions that products have. For example, you have products that create an entirely new set of needs. A great example are cell phones, right? So when cell phones were not around, nobody felt the need for it, but once they came around, they created a whole new set of needs where people wanted to be connected. They wanted to use Facebook on their cell phones to stay in touch with friends, and they wanted to use WhatsApp to share stories and photos and videos from their day-to-day life. So those cell phones created an entirely new set of needs. So did solar panels in places where there was no power. Another example another value proposition would be tailoring products and services to the specific needs of individual customers, right? So I can have a one-size-fit-all greenhouse, and I talked about greenhouse in the first week as one of the kind of case studies of a successful green entrepreneurial venture. And so I can have a one-size-fits-all, or I can design greenhouses that meet the specific needs of my customers. Customers that live in different climatic conditions, and so they need their greenhouse microclimate to be somewhat different. And just one-size-fits-all kind of works, but doesn't work as well. And I come in and I provide a greenhouse that really works perfectly for their climatic conditions or what they want to grow. All they want to grow are strawberries because that's an exotic product that's going to get them significantly higher profits. And so now I design greenhouses that are perfectly customized to grow strawberries, and they work beautifully, and I can now charge a premium, right? So I'm tailoring the product or service to the specific needs of my customers. My favorite value proposition, these are in no particular order, my favorite value proposition is putting more money in your customers' pockets. You know, we academics always like to debate about why people are poor, and we come up with all these different, education and post-colonialism and all these complex things, and yes, they are all true. But when you go and ask people, why are you poor? They give you a very simple answer. I'm poor because I don't have money. And I really like the simplicity of that answer. And so a lot of my own ventures, the value proposition is we help you make more money. Here's a greenhouse. You invest $1,000, it'll pay for itself in, say, 6 to 9 months, and then you double or triple your income. We'll help you make more money. Here's a test strip to screen women for urinary tract infections and preeclampsia. Yes, the ultimate goal is to save lives, but I tell my health workers, here you can buy this test strip for 10 cents, you can sell it for 25 cents, and you make a little bit of money while you're contributing to this larger challenge of maternal health, right? So your value proposition is you help people make more money. And if you as an entrepreneur help me make more money, I'm going to want to listen to you as to how you're going to enable me, right? Getting the job done, that's another value proposition. So yes, there are better ways of doing things, there are optimal ways of doing things, but sometimes you just want the peace of mind getting the job done. And I'm going to give you a somewhat strange example here because I've heard a lot of people talk about getting rid of the middlemen and simplifying supply chains. And yes, that is all true in certain settings. But imagine being, let's say, a 32-year-old single mother with 2 kids, and you grow a bunch of, you have let's say, a hazelnut tree in your backyard. And you grow these hazelnuts, and you have half a sack full of hazelnuts, and you want to sell them. Well, you probably don't have the resources, you don't have the time to go out to the marketplace 3 hours away and spend that money and sell it to somebody, right, for a higher profit. All you want is a middleman, somebody to come around, pick up the hazelnut, give you whatever money, not as good as what you would have gotten in the city, but give you some money, get the job done, right? That's a value proposition, get the job done. Superior design, better design, more appropriate design for the context. So here is a grain thresher that you can use that is made in location X, and it typically lasts for say 2 years. And here you have a really ruggedized design that will last you at least 5 years, right? So it's superior, better design. It could be better design in terms of lower maintenance costs, longer lifespan. It could have more features that are actually desired, right? You just don't want to add features that your customers don't care about. And so you need to know what features do your customers really desire. Or lower cost, that always works. The next value proposition is the brand or status. And sometimes people don't think about this enough, but aspiration plays a significant role, especially in low and middle income countries. And so we all, like, the Silk Road was not about salt, it was about silk, right? It was about luxuries. And so products that meet this aspirational need have their own place. And I'm sure we can all think of products and services where we choose a specific product because of its brand. Lower price, like designed for extreme affordability. So back to those greenhouses, right? When we started working on them, our competing products cost over $3,000. And the farmer said, can you make us something that we can afford? And we said, yes, let's try it. And so our value proposition was, yes, this is not as rugged as a $3,000 greenhouse. It is, but it's good enough for you. And it costs a fourth of what our competitors are going to charge you. And so it is more affordable. And our farmer said, yes, but we don't need something fancy. We need something that helps us make money. Cost reduction, slightly different than lower cost, but if you can reduce the cost of a product or service for a group, for a group or for a company or an organization, that's a solid value proposition. When they had the floods in Pakistan, they spent about $1 million a day to ship water, actually fly water, to Pakistan to where these floods were. And in comes an entrepreneur and says, wait, there's flooding everywhere, and you are flying water into this place and spending $1 million on transportation for water. What if you use this plastic bag with this particular kind of powder that you throw into it, and that is going to get you water that is potable. And now instead of shipping water, you are shipping in, or you're flying in like 500 of these plastic bags and these sachets with this miracle powder. And this is actually a real company that did this. And so now you are cutting down the cost of providing water by like 90%, right? And that makes a solid value proposition. We're going to help you save money and get people the water they need to stay alive. Another value proposition is reducing risk. For example, things like indexed insurance, weather index insurance for poor farmers, or when you have a product that offers you free maintenance for the first 2 years, 5 years. That's how you are reducing the risk and making your product more attractive to your customers. Accessibility. How do you make for example, you come up with foods that have the lowest carbon footprint, and then you use platforms like YouTube to get these recipes out to people. That's your product. Are these recipes of low carbon footprint products, and you're using a platform like YouTube to get the word out. And what YouTube is doing there is making your content more accessible to the people. Convenience and usability. So the value proposition here is that your product, it's just more convenient, and it's usable. So I can walk an hour to get home, or I can get a ride in the solar cart that gets me there in 10 minutes, and I pay a small amount of money. And that's your little venture, is the solar carts that transport people around, right? So I'm going to do it as an end customer in terms of convenience, but if you are making and selling these solar cards, then your value proposition to those entrepreneurs is that you help them make more money, right? So you have two different value propositions, one for your customers, you help them make money, while to me as an end user, you are affording me a little more convenience. So these are the kinds of value propositions that could be out there, and you could have some that are combinations of these different value propositions, and you can identify the best ones by really, spending more time with your customers, understanding who they are, what they need, and then validating these value propositions. And so that's something we talked about in week 1 as well. So here are 2 ways to kind of come up with value propositions. The first, and this is going to be one of the worksheets for you, for X, where X is your target customer who has this particular need. Our product in this category provides this benefit. All right? So that's one way to frame your value proposition. Another way is we help X do Y by doing Z. For example, we help coconut farmers in the Philippines triple their income by selling them a $1 spray that stops young coconuts from rotting. That is your value proposition. And you will have a separate value proposition for each of your stakeholders. So practice this and come up with your own value propositions, right? And this is going to help you develop your business model further. So finally, I'm just going to throw out some ideas on different kinds of business model innovations, which real companies have come up with when they took their time to understand the needs of customers, right? So innovations in terms of packaging strategy. So you'll find all kinds of products from salt to coffee to vodka being sold in small sachets, right? So the insight there was that the customers did not have money to buy a large packet of salt or coffee or vodka, but they were perfectly happy to spend a little bit of money to get the same thing in small quantity, even if the unit cost of that product is actually much higher, right? So that's a packaging strategy innovation. Or a pricing strategy innovation. The insight that people want to use cell phones, they want to talk, they don't have a lot of money to pay, it's very difficult to get them to pay after the fact. But if they actually buy scratch cards, they put money on their phones and they use it, then you can have a beautiful pay-as-you-go business model. Lots of great examples of appropriate technologies that are ruggedized, that are designed for a particular context, right? And those innovations emerge from really understanding what that context is and what is likely to survive and what is not likely to survive. Product financing strategy. So a lot of great examples with microcredit organizations or solar panels that have a built-in kind of cell phone module. And so instead of paying $2,000 upfront for this solar panel, you are paying a smaller amount, say $100, and then you have a loan, and you pay the loan back when people use the solar panel to get power, charge their phones, batteries, what have you, right? So that's a product and a business model innovation based on this insight that yes, people want power and they are willing to kind of run small, and there are entrepreneurs looking for income generation opportunities by merchandising power. And there are quite a few others, innovations in terms of production strategy. Great example would be the Shakti revolution in Bangladesh, where they have yogurt microfactories that manufacture Danone yogurt in these small villages so that the supply chains are not very long and everybody benefits by having these microfactories of yogurt. The microfactories they make money, and the customers get access to fresh yogurt on a regular basis. So just a few examples of business model innovations, and these all emerged out of a deep understanding of the customer's attributes, what the customers were looking for, and what they were willing to pay for, right? And that's the first and the most important attribute of a customer, is somebody who has a need, accepts or understands that they have a need, and has something to pay for it. Money is cash is king, right? So if they have cash in their pocket, they're willing to pay you to solve their problem, they make good customers.